Do not attempt to adjust your computer. There is nothing wrong. We have taken control as to bring you this special show, Cruising Through the Cosmos. My name is Dobie Maxwell, also known as the King of Uranus. My cohort's flying sidecar. To my left, to my right, to your left, is Greg DeGuire, a mind so deep it cannot be, we've never touched bottom. It's like the deepest part of the pool.
It's deep.
I don't know what's happening. We are stirring up yogurt, and there's more than fruit in the bottom there. And Greg is here with his books and his mind going in fifth gear. To your right, to my left, Carrie Turner is here, our Millennial Falcon, for your phone's going off. Carrie's pants are talking.
Ring it ding. Ring it ding.
Okay. That's what we do here. That's what live broadcasts are all about. So you want to get that? We'll do our show. We've been this before.
It's just a text.
It's okay. Your text has that kind of reaction? Okay.
Her pants are singing, by God.
Well, I'm glad we're here because we were going to go in a direction, but I want to talk about this thing right here that everyone has. Do you know anyone that does not own a cell phone? You do.
I do.
Who is that person?
Old person.
How old?
Actually, not as old as you might think. 50-something.
My grandpa, he's like 71, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's still relatively young.
Exactly, and he's playing. He's wood burning. He's got a wood burning cell phone. And he's texting in Aramaic.
Mine is still wood burning. I have a BlackBerry. It is still working because my payment is low and the battery lasts still a very long time.
It does last a long time. Now, I know a couple of people. I have a neighbor that does have a flip phone.
Yeah,
and
I still know a lot of people.
Now, you're a Star Trek and much as a Star Wars person. It's amazing to me your depths of knowledge. I don't know how much as a male you spent in the bathroom to know all the useless facts that you know.
Pretty useless.
But I respect you for it. The women, I don't know how you gather your information. Maybe it's a shopping. I have no idea what you do. But guys,
coffee clutches.
Exactly. My grandpa would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, right to the bathroom to get away from my grandma, and out would come the newspaper, and he would do the crossword puzzle. And he said he got his obscure references a lot of times from the crossword puzzle. Hanging out with the fellers going to Steinhoists, that's where we get our obscene knowledge from. Well, it used to be, I don't know if it was the Native Americans or the cavemen before that. They're roasting a beast on the fire in their head. You hear what Og's wife said the other day and blah, 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 blah. But now it's this. I see people. I have a friend of mine who was chaperoning a high school dance and said there was a high school couple slow dancing and they're texting each other. They're not texting each other, but they're both texting as they're slow dancing. And he said it was no joke.
That's cringeworthy.
It is cringeworthy. Now, your whole generation, you don't remember a time in your life when there wasn't a computer.
No.
And I can't fathom that. I know I come from the generation, and my grandparents said, oh yeah, all your newfangled computer games. Pong was our game. That's
Pong.
Blip.
No.
Blip. You play Pong?
Yeah, definitely.
And it doesn't bore you to tears?
No.
Oh.
I started, playing on the computer probably in the early 2000s, and that's what it was equipped with.
Now, what was your age then?
One.
How old were you?
I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's amazing to me.
It's so young.
I'll go to a grocery store, and I'll see some little drooling melon head kid that would normally be sneezing all over his parents in the cart, sitting in the celery, and they're just, whatever the government, Satan incarnate, whoever else wants to put information through that cosmic box.
Yeah.
That kid's mind is way open. How many times have you been with a child under 5 years old? They still poo their pants, and they cannot read. McDonald's. They know McDonald's.
They know it.
I was at the store the other day, and they were doing exactly that. And
that's frightening to me that they would know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how McDonald's gets in there, but you can't tell me.
But it's the constant commercials,
TV.
But it's hypnotic.
I blame TV.
Yeah.
I do blame TV. Now, who is behind TV and who is behind this? Now, the artist formerly known as Prince, the singer, who knows how long this broadcast will be in cyberspace, but Prince said he did not have a cell phone because everybody he knew had one. And George Clinton, who was my musical hero upon whom this show is named after, said, I don't think the government is going to give us anything this good without there being a catch. When the mothership wants to get a hold of me, they do. And he doesn't. I've had people call George wants to talk to me. It's really true.
Yeah.
George has called me a couple of times. I'm not bragging. I'm not saying we're good buddies, but we are acquaintances.
That's cool.
And the phone rang and said, George Clinton wants to talk to you. Okay, I'm here. And hey, and he gets on the phone.
Wow.
He doesn't have one himself. And I think, he's a very intelligent guy. And I think, I do think, okay, number one, it tracks us no matter where we are, anywhere in the world, even when it's off.
It asks for your location now.
Yes.
It's almost everything.
Now your phone knows where you're going.
And
it can do. Now,
Talk about that episode
Yeah.
from the show.
so all right, there's a special on Netflix. Now I can't remember the name, but there's like 8 different episodes talked about new modern conspiracies, and one of them was all about cell phones. So if the government wants to find information on Carrie, what they're going to do is they're going to send out a very specific piece of equipment that masks itself as a cell phone tower. It's like a black box.
Stingray, right?
Stingray, Project
Yeah.
Stingray. So they put Stingray in the neighborhood. She dials up her cell phone. The signal goes out looking for a tower to connect to so it can spread its message out to other phones. So instead of finding a public cell phone tower, it attaches to the Stingray first. The Stingray reads all of her information. The Stingray acts like a cell phone tower, but isn't. It responds to her phone, but then it collects everything on her phone, and it goes right to the government.
The cookies.
Yep.
More or less, yeah.
And the
cookie
location
file.
as well. So what happened? They found the guy. They found his location.
Yeah, they found his location. So there was a guy. He was up against the government. What?
Oh, there
I
was the
forgot.
guy who was getting everybody's social security numbers and taking them as his own, and then ran away.
He was living in the woods, getting
The
illegal.
Unabomber.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But he was living off tax returns from fake social security numbers.
He got $500,000 altogether.
He did good. He did good for himself, but the government was on him like white on rice. So they come up with this. Well, they didn't come
So
up
they
with.
found his where he
They
lived.
found his signal through the Stingray.
Wow.
So he spent prison time writing. He hand wrote everything, and he won his case. He sued the government for illegal. They obtained his information illegally because that's not anywhere that says that the government even has that to be able to use that legally on its own citizens, and he won.
He's out free.
So you got to keep the money.
Well, he didn't get to keep the
Probably
money.
not.
He's out of jail. I think he should count his blessings with that one.
Yeah.
He's out of jail. He won his lawsuit against the American government because they use this thing illegally on its own citizens.
How much would you like to bet he's going to get audited for the next 57 years? on his taxes?
If I were him, I would find an island somewhere in the South Pacific and never look back.
You
Sell
just
a
let it
kidney.
run and just go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't surprise me, though, that the government would come up with these things to spy on its own citizens.
In the same episode, they also blocked the people who were protesting. I forget what they were protesting, but they blocked their phones from even getting a signal out there so that no one could see what was
Yeah,
going
so
on.
if you're ever at a massive
Yeah.
They
area,
were masking it all.
if you're ever at
Yeah.
a massive gathering and no one gets a signal, that's not coincidence, folks. That's planned.
And at the same time, they were using the gas bombs and everything over there. They were-
Yeah.
so
Well,
they
there's a
couldn't tell
shocker, huh?
the.
How many times have you tried to make a call and you're in a major metropolitan area, maybe the same one, maybe not, as someone else that lives in someone's in Chicago and you're calling someone in St. Louis or Milwaukee or Detroit or Indianapolis, whatever, and you just fall out like 5 times in a row in 10 minutes. And it's just frustrating after a while, and you think you just take it for granted that you're going to get a signal, and you don't, and I don't know why that is.
Well, maybe the government's got other plans for that carrier at the moment in time. I mean, or it could just be you can't get a signal. I mean, it doesn't always mean that it's a government conspiracy that you can't get a signal, but if you're in a heavily populated area and 2 out of 3 people all say, well, we can't get a signal either, not coincidence, no matter what it is, not coincidence, because they don't want information to get out about what's going on at that particular moment.
Another conspiracy theory that I've heard years ago, and I don't know if it's true, maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't, let's throw it out there to put in the mix, and if you have any information on this, please contact us at any one of the many places that you can at the Mothership Connection. But allegedly the semi-trucks on the highway that have Evergreen written on the side are the government.
Yeah,
Really?
there was a CIA, it was Evergreen Aviation. That goes back to Air America for the Vietnam War. That was all CIA skunk works. So the CIA set up illegal companies to go back and forth. So if the Army couldn't do it, the CIA would do it with these dummy corporations, so they could do what the Army couldn't do, or they could get into places where the Army couldn't. So that's how they move things in secret all across the country, is they put them in semi-trucks. And that thought had never occurred to me up until I saw the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. They put all their equipment in Piggly Wiggly and Baskin and Robbins trucks and moved it from wherever to Wyoming in unsuspecting vehicles. How would you know otherwise?
Now, I had an uncle for a while that was a truck driver, and I confronted him on this. And he said, well, you go to the truck stops, and I believe the company he worked for was called Schneider. Now,
It's a big one, yeah.
I have seen Schneider, and it's a big one, and you see that written on the side of trucks. I believe the trucks are orange. I could be wrong. But he said, you see another Schneider driver, you have a hat on or a shirt with the name on it. He said the Evergreen drivers and Evergreen trucks, he goes, I saw them once in a while. They never mingled with us.
Huh.
You know, they might, the truck stop, they shower there, and they kind of sit in the lounge and talk to each other. He goes, they were just to themselves. They weren't one of the boys. So I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't go into the whole. I just asked him if he ever heard of it. He said, yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of the company.
Well, back in the radio days, I did a thing on Evergreen Aviation. So it's not surprising that they're still using the same name, just in a different way.
No, I saw a truck probably a week ago, and I was going to take a picture of it with my phone, but it was on that freeway, and I didn't want to do that. But they're still out there, and I don't know if you ever heard of that. But every time you see a truck,
I'll keep my eye out.
this is it. Yeah, Evergreen.
Now, I had also
naughty
heard,
stuff going on there.
I'd also heard on the flip side of interstate signs, this green interstate sign, Chicago 30 miles. The flip side of that, if you hit it with a black light, there's special codes for armies when they're marching on the roads for invasion or whatever. If they're marching in the wrong direction and they don't quite know where they're at, they can hit this, and there's a special code that says where there's strategic places off of specific exits. I'd always heard that.
Now, here's
That's
another
true.
thing.
That's a good
Gotta
one.
bring a black light
Here's
with us
another thing
now.
I heard.
Yeah.
That Santa Claus is trying to live the no.
Well, interstates were built with a very specific purpose. They were modeled after the Autobahn in Germany because that's what Hitler did. In order to move his armies quickly across the country, he invented the interstate system. This is all from Nazi Germany, so he can move his troops swiftly from point A to point B.
Interstaten.
Yes, Interstaten. So America did that in the 50s. Eisenhower did that when he built the interstate system. But it was also built sort of with the same mindset that if you needed to move equipment or troops quickly, you could do that, which is why every 50 miles in the interstate system today, there's a complete straightaway.
No, I think it's. I'm different. I think it's 5 miles.
Every 5 miles, there's a complete straightaway. Why, you ask? To land airplanes if you needed to.
Yes.
No bridges, no turns, no hooks, no arrows, no nothing. So if the crap hit the fan, you can land a jumbo jet right in the interstate, unload your troops, and boom, away you go.
Wow.
Here's another one that I heard. In cities, when you see street lights, and the freeways in urban areas, allegedly the street lights were color coded, so pilots flying over could see where the war-torn, the ghetto areas are, or the lower income, however you want to call it. Maybe it's along racial divide. I believe one was more of a yellow tint. The other one was more of a blue tint.
Well,
and someone sued. I don't know if they sued the government because they found out about it, and they claimed discrimination and won, from what I heard. And again, I'm saying all these things. It used to be when we were on the radio, we could Google this kind of stuff when we went to a commercial.
Well, now there's an alternative answer to that. It's the different gases inside the light bulbs. So you have metal halides. So metal halide is like a gas station, like your local BP, super bright white. Okay, easy to see. But then your street lights are like a yellowy or like an orange. That's a high pressure sodium. So sodium is the gas that ignites when you turn the bulb on. So they look differently. High pressure sodium is easier to see in fog. If you put your high beams in fog, it's refracted right back to you. You put your low beams on, you can see under the fog. It's easier to see. That's why the fog lights were always yellow, because a different tint, any other tint other than bright white, was easy to cut through thick fog. That was why certain colors of bulbs were invented. But metal halide is a little bit more expensive than high pressure sodium. It's just a different gas inside the bulb.
Have you ever heard that they use different ones depending on the part of town?
I had never heard that, but that scares me a little bit. That makes a lot of weird sense. But now, nowadays, light bulb technology has changed so much. So you went from metal halides, compact fluorescent, to LEDs, which stands for light emitting diodes, and then you got your different gases, your xenon bulbs. So newer cars, you see the headlights are blue, right? That's a xenon bulb. So blue is going to mask daylight, so you can see like daylight inside inside the dark. So because I know a lot about light bulbs, I'm sorry, I know. But
Greg McGuire, lightbulbauthority.com.
But that's why. I mean, in our set studio, this bulb that's over the giant Millennium Falcon is a daylight compact fluorescent. The light that's over there is not. It is a warm white compact fluorescent. You can see the different light colors right there. So that's just different gases inside.
The glowing light behind us is Greg's Star Wars collection on fire.
That'd be a big
insured.
fire.
You're okay.
But yeah, I have never heard that street light. Now that makes me wonder.
Interesting.
Think about this though. Now I drive 10 times more than the average person in being in my job, and I have to go from town to town, big cities, small towns. I take the interstate system a lot, and I see what you call it, an overpass, kind of a, not a bridge, but there's a camera
Oh,
right
yeah.
there, and it takes everybody's license plates. And
Yep.
allegedly, there are, and the city's not, it's stopping car thefts because they can read where the stolen cars are. And I don't want there to be. I was down in Florida years ago, and they would time when you go to the toll booth down there, and it's like 157, you can pay your toll, and you get there too early, that they know you were speeding by the amount of time that's on your, and they'll write you a ticket.
Ohio's the same way. The
Pay your
turnpike.
toll. I never like math. When it comes back to stinging in the wallet like that, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I hate
But
math. I don't want to get a ticket for math. That's terrible.
that's what it is, you know. Algebra. When do you use that in real life? You know, cop pulls you over. Okay, now you left the police station at quarter to x squared. What do you do?
Lie is best.
True. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
could you believe that? I was infuriated. It's like, okay, yes, I spent to get there. There's no one around. You got a limping alligator crossing the road, and the rest of the time I'm doing 85.
Right.
And what difference does it make? I didn't hit anybody, but they wrote a ticket because it says there's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law.
Here's the thing. I think the government can simply know too much. Now, people have tried to block these license plates. A friend of mine decided that he was going to speed through specific toll booths and not pay. It's through the state of Illinois. So instead of, he didn't have an iPass, he went through the iPass anyways. So he says, well, I don't have a front plate, they're never going to catch me. Yeah, you know, the camera goes both ways. They're going to see you. Because the front picture gets a picture of your vehicle, then they can call up, well, let's turn the reverse image. Yeah, there's your license plate.
Yeah.
They will figure it out.
Well, how about your cabbage head behind the wheel?
There's that too.
Can they do like a DNA or one of those facial matches or something like
But
that?
he thought for sure that without a front plate, can't catch me. No, that's not how it works. And Mythbusters. You ever watch the show Mythbusters?
I've seen it. It's a very interesting show.
I don't like smarty pants know-it-alls, and that's what they are. However, they do make a few good points.
I agree.
They themselves tried this whole license plate trick. They tried to mask it. They tried to cover it, put tinfoil over the plate, or trying to tape to fool the radar. They did every trick in the book they could conceivably think of to fool the radar as far as the camera, as far as reading license plate, and none of them worked. The camera found it every single time. So they slowed down. Well, maybe if they go too slow, the pixels per frame per minute maybe is cloudy. Then they got in a Maserati and did 210. Thinking that can't catch something that fast. Wrong every time. Got the crystal clear picture every time.
Now, I will say this: I had a car stolen. I've had more cars stolen than most people have owned. But one of the cars that I had stolen, I'll never forget. They put on my rear plate. It was almost like they took a paint roller, and it was a tar-like substance. And they kind of like almost like I picture like the football players. You see, they put the little, what would you call it? The coal underneath
Yeah,
their
it's
eyes.
the black paint to draw away the sunlight.
I don't know if it's paint, whatever it is. I thought it was like charcoal. But yeah, to draw away the sunlight from their eyes. And they did this when I got my car back. It was trashed about a week later, and it was across, and I could not get it off. It was almost like tar paper, not tar paper. That tar. What would you call it?
Yeah, I mean,
Tar.
tar.
Yeah, and it was across. I don't know what it was, and the cops, the guy, when I had to go call the cops, and they said, yeah, that's just a thing that they use, and they just go over it like that. And I don't know if they went through any toll booths or anything like that, but it made it harder when the cops were out just to see the license plate.
See the plates. Yeah.
I knew what my plate was. I could barely read it. They just.
Well, everything is there to confuse and obfuscate. So you
But
can
if
get
a
away with
car
it.
thief, a punk car thief knows
Figure
this,
that out.
it's unbelievable. If they put that kind of energy into doing a fine show like the Mothership.
Now there was another
prison.
There was another fine show. This is on, I forget what network it was on, but it was called Rocket City Rednecks.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite shows. Their motto was "Safety Third." These guys were rocket scientists. They worked at NASA in Alabama, out of Huntsville, Alabama. So on the weekends, they would futz around their garage and build all kind of doodads that blew up or shot into space or who knows what. One particular episode, they decided they were going to make cars that would bounce off the radar. So they were going to make a stealth car, more or less what they want to do. So the radar couldn't pick up the speed gun. So the cop couldn't get you how fast you're going until you already passed him. And the gun didn't read the speed, can't pull you over. Even though the officer saw it, he's got no proof now. It's your word against his. So what they did is, I'm sure they obtained these illegally. They brought some things back from NASA with them one particular weekend. But they got the paint, black ball paint, that went on the stealth fighter. Not everybody can get this stuff. They had some. So what they did is they took egg cartons and they covered an old pick-em-up truck and they glued on these egg cartons and they sprayed this black ball paint all over this truck. So this truck looked ridiculous. But they tested it. So they put the cop 10 miles out. Let's have the truck come in. Truck's coming. 0 on the radar. They had it. The truck fooled the radar up until it was right close. Then it got the speed. But it fooled it for 8 miles. I mean, they had it figured out. So if these not stealing paint from NASA withstanding, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. So, I mean, I credit to anyone who wants to fool the government from getting more information than they ought to have. I'm going to say go for it. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That term government is so loose.
It is.
Anyway, I mean, to me, what did you consider government as a kid? It's like, well, they're the ones that kind of build the roads.
The mayor.
Kinda, right?
The mayor.
The mayor, yeah, goes to the mall opening, chops the big ribbon.
The city's comptroller.
Okay. my grandpa, basically, I wouldn't say he worked with the government, but civil service. He was a dispatcher of garbage trucks and snowplows, which are the same thing in Wisconsin, depending on where you are. But is that government? That's really civil service?
Civil service.
I don't know.
I mean, when I was a kid, when I heard the word government, I always felt like George Washington and the Revolutionary War, starting up with the Declaration of Independence. That's government.
Or they make laws. I mean, what is the speed limit in each state? State laws are different.
But now it's used as a swear word. Careful. The government will get you.
Yeah.
It's a swear word now. Well, it can be, but.
But it is who's the government. And there's so many billions, trillions, zillions of dollars, and somebody is spending it, and is there anybody watching? Or Donald Trump or whoever the president is, are they watching every single person? Of course.
Well, it's all about accountability now, isn't it? Who's going to control who, and who writes the checks for these things?
So if you watch our last episode, we're talking about Schadenfreude or Schadenfreude, or however you say it, the taking glee and happiness in the misfortune of others. It's again the kids, the high school attitude, a pissing contest, for lack of a better term. That, well, my branch of government that watches the people, that has the chips in their arm, we want to watch these people. Well, my branch of government does this, and it's basically again with the monkeys flinging the poo is what it is.
What are the three? Is it legislative, judicial, and
what?
Executive.
Thank
That's
you.
our studio audience, Emily.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's got season tickets. She's paid $5 in fast food gift certificates.
She got a free can of Jolly Good Soda right there,
Free can of
folks.
Jolly Good Soda and a box of cat litter to go. So we appreciate Emily with that fact checker.
That's when I heard government as a kid, that's what I thought of, the three branches. I mean, that's
what we were taught.
It's your talk. But is that really how it works? I mean, because that perspective changes as you get older. Now, because in school you couldn't vote. Then you get to be voting age and you follow politics. I'm like, wow, this isn't what they taught in school. This is completely whacked out of control. None of it makes any sense. Follow the money or not. Who's really in control? Who says what you can do on a local level? It's your city and county government.
Yeah.
You take that away, what does the federal government do? And who controls what? Because there's some things the federal government can step on because you have local government, and vice versa. Some things they can't because they mind-boggling.
Everybody has had a job somewhere at some time in your life, whether you're working in fast food, whether you're working at a store, and there are politics. The cutest one gets the easy job, the one that's dating the assistant manager, and just gets off whatever they want, blah, 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 and all the stuff that goes on. Now take that we've all experienced, that at least one job that we've worked for, even if you have a paper route. The kids that get the papers first are the ones that smoke dope with the people, whatever it is. Now multiply that by literally 1 million. That is what big-time politics is about.
Yeah.
I picture the heads of countries with nuclear weapons sitting there saying, nah, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to blow your country up.
Neener.
Neener. Yes, and there's not an authority figure there that is not the mind of a 5-year-old. You don't think Donald Trump, who's used to having his way in his business because he's the boss, yes, sir, Mr. Trump, whatever you say, and then you get in it. I'm not saying pro or anti-Trump, but anybody in that situation, but him especially, because he's been used to getting his way for so long, you get in the wrong situation. There's always somebody that's got a bigger punch than you, that's got more money than you, that's got more power than you.
There's always a bigger fish.
Absolutely right. And I think, to go in there with that kind of cavalier attitude, like, well, I'm used to winning and getting what I want to. And then can you imagine if I personally, I know I'm a skeptic, cannot believe a nuclear bomb has not been blown off in the continental United States.
Did you know?
I cannot believe that.
As a country, we're missing 4 of them.
Really?
4. They're,
I saw
they're
3
unaccountable.
I saw 3 on eBay
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
I don't know where the 4th
Well,
was.
because they were lost.
Craigslist.
2 of them were lost in
Wow.
submarines. The submarine sank and they couldn't retrieve them. And 2 were bombers that crashed and simply don't know what happened to them. Where the hell did I read that? I read it in a book somewhere.
No offense to you. If anybody would know this, it would be you. And if you know this, I'll buy you a cookie. What are the sizes of the average nuclear bomb? Obviously, the Enola Gay that dropped the one on Hiroshima and
Well, that was
Nagasaki.
huge.
That must have been the size of a Buick, right? It was a big,
Yeah, I
giant
mean,
bomb.
nowadays you can make one the size of that R2 unit. It all depends.
No one can see that.
No one can say, well, the R2-D2 that we had, okay, so this could be plutonium. You need uranium U-235.
A large thermos.
A large term. But it depends on how much.
The R2D2 is a little bit bigger than this.
Yeah.
It depends on the
It's okay,
container
Al. You're
and
not
how
gonna
much fissionable material you can get into the size of the container. The more you can get into the container and compact it, the bigger the boom you can get. So it depends on how much you want to blow up.
Yeah, I'm going back to the Burger King. Do you have any fissionable material? you got root beer. You got Dr. Pepper.
About some yellow caked uranium for dessert. Do you have any of that? Yeah. So it depends on what you want to have blown up. It would sometimes depend on the size of the bomb, but not
The Chicago Bears practice facility.
Wouldn't take a bomb much bigger than the size of that triple.
No, they pretty much implode upon themselves. I don't think they need any help.
There we go. Thanks, Trish.
I'm not going to make fun of nuclear war, but just with all the desensitization that we have had, especially your generation, no offense. I mean, do you remember, what's the one in Colorado? Columbine? Do you remember that?
What year? That was 99.
I don't remember what that
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, that was a shooting. That was all. Well, I was going to say, on the quick topic of being desensitized about nuclear war, when I was a kid, you probably don't know this movie. You probably know the movie I'm going to mention. I saw this movie. It was a made-for-TV movie. Scared the living bejabbers, I think, out of every child my age who watched this movie. Because at the time, the U.S. and Russia weren't the best of pals. Reagan was in office. It was probably Gorbachev, and they were always nitpicking back and forth. The Cold War was coming to an end, but wasn't quite there yet.
It was a lukewarm war.
It was a lukewarm war. So this movie called The Day After Tomorrow hit the airwaves, and it scared everybody shitless, as they say, as far as what nuclear war would do to your neighborhood. And that was an eye-opening experience. Now, the last time I hit it...
melt the monkey bars.
Oh, man. And it's such a heartbreaking story. Even today, you can find this movie on YouTube, and if you want to be scared out of your wits about what nuclear war would really do, they took this movie as seriously as serious could be. There's no jokes about it. There's no humor in any of this. This was what would happen. And it is a pretty creepily... It's bad. Steve Guttenberg's in it. Probably the best thing he's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those all-star casts. Like, oh, that guy's... Oh, I remember that guy. He was in there, too. Find it on YouTube.
Is Adrian Zmed in it?
Maybe. Find it on YouTube. Scare yourself stupid into thinking nuclear war is a joke. I don't know.
Then it's not a movie.
There was a bevy of stars in it. But now I watched it. Last time I watched it was 2 years ago. I was recovering from my last hip surgery. I was horsing around on YouTube when I saw it, and it depressed me terribly. And I refuse to watch that movie ever again. It's damned depressing. So, nuclear war. If you're not afraid, see the movie The Day After Tomorrow. Or the day after. The day after. The day after tomorrow is the movie about the weather disaster.
Next Tuesday is the sequel.
The day after. Late 80s? I want to say this was 83, 84. Yeah. Scare your pants off. Please go forth.
We've just been told the Mothership is clear for landing. Thank you for joining us. That's Kerry Turner right here. That's Greg DeGuire. My name is Dobie Maxwell. If you'd like to get a hold of us on the Mothership, how do we do that, Kerry?
tinfoiltalkshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, we have
alienxfile@wi.rr.com or WLIPmothership@live.com.
Or you could wear your tinfoil hat, drive around Kenosha with a dowsing rod. And it might lead us to the actual compound.
Yes, yes.
Al will be outside watering the lawn.
Yes.
On behalf of everybody, thank you for listening. Get in touch with us. We will be back when the Mothership flies again.